Alright, let's try this one, factoring out the greatest common factor from 32xyz plus 48x squared yz plus 36y squared z. We first find the GCF, and we look at first the numbers 32, 48, and 36, and try to figure out what's the largest number that will divide into each of these. And we sort of go with the process of elimination. We just look at them and we might think 6 will go into 48 and 36, but 6 won't go into 32. So you look at, try 4. Well, 4 goes into 32, 48, and 36. If we tried to do 8, 8 would go into 32 and 48, but not 36. So the most often we can find what the largest number that divides into the coefficients more or less by trial and error. In this case we can see it's 4. Then we go to the variables. We've got x, x squared, and x. So the largest factor of x that will go into all of these terms is just x. Then we got y's. Y in the first, y in the second, and y squared in the third. So the largest factor of y would be just y. And then each of them has z to the first power. So the greatest common factor would include z. So our GCF is 4xyz. And to factor it out, as always, when we factor out the GCF, we're going to have the GCF times something. So I'm writing down the original problem again, because it's helpful to have that right in front of us when we're working it. Because what we'll do to factor out the GCF is we first write down the GCF, which we said is 4xyz, and it's always that times something, and it's the something that we have to figure out. And if you have any trouble doing it, then you can always figure out what goes inside the parentheses by dividing each of the terms of the original polynomial by the GCF. Now keep in mind you don't have to show this step. Most students after some practice can avoid writing this down. But I think it's a good idea to do this if you're not sure how to determine what goes inside the parentheses. So I'm simply taking each of the terms of the original polynomial and dividing those by the GCF. And that's what goes inside the parentheses. So the first term, when I divide 32xyz by 4xyz, first of all the x, the y, and the z cancel. And I'm left with 32 over 4, which is just 8. I bring down my plus sign. Then for the middle term, 48 over 4 gives me 12. X squared over x gives me x. The y's cancel and the z's cancel. Bring down the plus sign. For the last term, 36 over 4 is 9. X's cancel. Y squared over y is y. And the z on top, there's no z in the denominator. Oh, there should be a z in the denominator because the GCF included a z. So actually the z on top cancels with the z on the bottom. Therefore, the only thing left is 9y. And so 4xyz times 8 plus 12x plus 9y is the final answer. And remember, you should check your answer by distributing the 4xyz through the parentheses to verify that you get back to the original polynomial.